One of the questions that naturally arises when drawing a single tarot card each day from a full 78-card deck is how to interpret repetition. Over time, repetition is inevitable, but not all repetitions carry equal significance. In my experience, when a card reappears within a short window of 1 to 2 weeks, it is rarely random. Instead, it suggests continuity. The first appearance of a card often marks the beginning of a process. A second appearance within that same cycle frequently indicates that the process has reached a point of completion or closure. When a card appears a third time in such a short span, the meaning deepens further. It begins to signal integration. The energy of the card is no longer unfolding or resolving. It is becoming established. This pattern has just unfolded very clearly in my daily draws. Over the course of less than 2 weeks, the same Arcana, Death, appeared 3 times. The first appearance occurred on Thursday, March 5th. The second came exactly 1 week later on Thursday, March 12th. The third appeared on Tuesday, March 17th. In my system, the Death card corresponds to Saturn in Scorpio and represents transformation at a structural level. It is not about surface change but about the ending of a form that has reached the end of its natural life. The timing of these 3 manifestations aligns closely with both the solar and lunar cycles in true sidereal astrology. The first appearance of Death occurred just after the full moon lunar eclipse in sidereal Leo while the sun remained in Aquarius. The second occurred during the 3/4 moon in Ophiuchus. The third occurred during the balsamic moon in Aquarius, just before the new moon in Pisces, shortly after the sidereal sun had entered Pisces. The first appearance of Death came at a moment of maximum illumination. A full moon brings things into clear view, and an eclipse intensifies that effect. Something is revealed that cannot easily be ignored. The appearance of Death immediately after this event suggests that the transformation begins with recognition. Something has been seen clearly, and that clarity initiates the process of ending. With the sun still in Aquarius, the emphasis lies on systems, structures, and external frameworks. The transformation begins by exposing what within those frameworks can no longer be sustained. The sequence of cards that followed carried that transformation forward. The Emperor appeared, establishing authority and the need to define one's ground. The King of Pentacles followed, grounding that authority in material stability. With the beginning of the new week, the Arcana of the Sun illuminated the situation further, bringing clarity and visibility. The process then moved into a more transpersonal register. Judgment reversed, which I associate with Pluto in Sagittarius, indicated a deeper shift in belief and direction. The High Priestess reversed, which I associate with the moon in Pisces, suggested that the transformation had moved inward into intuition and perception. The Two of Rods then marked the re-emergence of direction, with Jupiter in Aries pointing toward renewed vision and initiative. The second appearance of Death on March 12th occurred during the 3/4 moon in Ophiuchus. This lunar phase represents a point of active engagement, where one must respond to what has been revealed. Ophiuchus, in a 13-sign sidereal framework, carries associations with healing and the handling of transformative forces. The second Death marks the closure of the cycle initiated at the eclipse. What was revealed has now been worked through. The transformation has been engaged consciously and brought to completion. The days that followed the second Death form an important interval that leads into the third appearance. The Seven of Pentacles, corresponding to Jupiter in Virgo, introduced a period of reflection and assessment. This card pauses to evaluate what remains after the ending. It does not rush forward but considers carefully what is worth continuing. The Ace of Swords, aligned with Uranus in Libra, brought a moment of clarity. Insight arrives suddenly and cleanly, cutting through uncertainty. The Knight of Cups, associated with Mars in Pisces and serving as the solar card for the new week, introduced a more intuitive movement. Direction begins to form again, but in a subtle and fluid way. The Four of Swords, corresponding to Jupiter in Libra, created a space of stillness in which these developments could settle and integrate. By the time Death returned for the third time, on the 17th of March, the process had already passed through reflection, insight, intuitive movement, and rest. The moon was now in its balsamic phase in Aquarius, approaching the new moon in Pisces. This phase represents release and dissolution. Energy withdraws, and what has been processed is allowed to pass away completely. The third manifestation of Death does not initiate or conclude. It confirms. The transformation has already taken place. What remains is the full release of attachment to what has ended. With the sidereal sun now in Pisces, the symbolism shifts from restructuring to dissolution. Aquarius questions and reorganizes systems, but Pisces lets them go. The third Death belongs to this Piscean phase. It represents the integration of the transformation into lived experience. The old form is not only gone but no longer held onto. Seen as a whole, the 3 appearances of Death align precisely with the waning lunar cycle. The first follows the full moon and marks recognition. The second occurs at the 3/4 moon and marks engagement and resolution. The third appears in the balsamic phase and marks release. This is a complete arc, moving from illumination through action to dissolution. This sequence shows that repetition in tarot is not redundancy but timing. The same card can appear multiple times, but its meaning shifts according to its position within a larger cycle. The first manifestation of death reveals that something must end. The second suggests that it has been worked through. The third confirms that it is now fully gone. Because this pattern unfolds alongside both the lunar phases and the movement of the sun from Aquarius into Pisces in a true sidereal framework, it carries a coherence that feels less like interpretation and more like observation. The cards, the moon, and the sun all describe the same process from different angles. What emerges is not just a series of daily draws, but a complete passage through transformation, from the moment of recognition to the point of final release. If this pattern resonated with you, try drawing one card a day and watch what repeats. The cards often speak in cycles, not just moments. Follow the sequence, trust the process, and see what story begins to unfold in your own life. If you'd like more insights like this, subscribe to our YouTube channel and bookmark our blog perennialtarot.com to explore more tarot cycles as they unfold.